And look, the energy train wreck under this government, it is just getting worse. Today, more on gas. If, and it's a big, big if, the government's planned increase from the current 40% of our power from renewables to 82% in just 5 years is ever going to work, we desperately need more gas. Gas is the only way to keep the lights on when the sun drops or the wind drops or the sun disappears in a largely renewables-powered grid. Now, we have a super abundance of gas in this country, not a shortage. That's a supply constraint. We have plenty of gas, like the Narrabri gas field that could supply half of the New South Wales state's domestic needs, but it's still tangled up in a whole lot of green tape, and it has been like that for a decade. Now this madness in Victoria, where the Labor government there wants to import gas via an expensive new terminal rather than develop the gas that's sitting in abundance in the ground in Victoria. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. Imported gas is more expensive, naturally. The energy is required to take the gas, liquefy it, transport it. That'll lift our emissions, won't it? And then you move it around the country, you take it to the terminal import, you liquefy it again, you transport it, you unload it, you turn it back into gas, and you use it. Now, to do all of that, you have spent billions and billions and billions more than if you just got your own gas in your own state out of the ground. Now, one of the other states are calling out federal Labor, saying, we're already stuck with higher prices just to cover the costs of a new import gas terminal in Victoria. But if you think that's crazy and a waste of money, just wait for what's coming next as we start to tally up the true cost of all the infrastructure required for the government's so-called energy transition. Today, experts have warned that the cost of all new poles and wires just for Victoria's transition alone is more likely to be $20 billion, not the $4 billion in State Labor's plan. Now, just to put this into perspective, you know what $20 billion will buy you? Well, that's the cost of 10 new state-of-the-art hospitals. $20 billion would fix almost every pothole, every major road in Victoria, and then some. It's more than half what we spend on Medicare right around the country. Yesterday too, we had the nonsense of Energy Minister Chris Bowen saying that, I won't rule out, or we've got to have on the table green tariffs in order to force a transition to so-called green steel.
I know you've been looking at the option of Australia imposing a carbon tariff or a carbon border adjustment mechanism, as the Europeans are looking at. What's your thinking on that at the moment?
Well, we've been, again, clear that we want to ensure Australian industry is best placed to compete in a decarbonising world. As you know, I commissioned Professor Frank Yotso last year to advise the government. He's made public consultation papers. Those papers make clear he thinks the settings are right in the short term, but there are things we can think about in the medium to long term. And obviously that's something I'll continue to progress this term with my Cabinet colleagues.
Now, that nonsense prompted this response from the new Energy Shadow Minister, Dan Tehan.
Before the election, Chris Bowen, this arrogant minister, said nothing about carbon tariffs, and yet here he is immediately after the election talking about putting them in place.
Also yesterday, Chris Bowen flagged a possible gas reservation policy to keep Australian gas in Australia.
We've got a number of policies that are up for review. It's about, they're coming to their review time, the gas mechanism, the gas code, etc. We'll look at those and see what more can be done. But let's be clear, we've not only thought that Australian gas should be provided to Australian industry and Australian households, we've acted on it.
Now, if you think this sounds a bit familiar, you'd be right, because this is pretty much the same policy from the coalition that the government rubbished during the election.
Does it open up a discussion for bigger reforms, such as raising the GST, indexing tax brackets, or even the coalition's gas reserve policy on the East Coast?
Well, I think firstly the coalition's policy was a joke. We took to the Australian people a set of propositions. That's what we will seek to carry out. We're not about to change things because of the number of Labor MPs that were elected.
Not much of a joke now. I mean, this is all a monumental mess. all because our government, state and federal, have been running the electricity system on both sides of politics to reduce emissions rather than produce affordable and reliable power. And this is precisely why we must have in this country an honest and open debate about net zero.